out on this celebration. We are stronger together. Tell your friend, tell your family, tell everybody.
Good afternoon, Omega listeners. The time is now 3:30 p.m. here today in the beautiful Sunshine State, Florida. Coming to you now, we have none other than the Hyatts, Karim and Michelle Hyatt, your hosts for Marriage in a Minute every Saturday from 3:30 to 3:45 p.m. So we ask that you'll go ahead and get settled in, get locked in as you get ready to hear today's segment of Marriage in a Minute. Over to you.
Hey y'all, we're back. It is Marriage in a Minute with Karim and Michelle Hyatt. And we just want to give you guys a big shout out. Man, you know I always do the weather report. They should actually pay me on a television show or radio show to do the weather. But anyway, it was
Maybe after doing it so many times,
they'll
they'll
probably
start
send a
paying.
little something, something. But anyway, it was beautiful. It is beautiful outside. Hopefully, you guys had an opportunity to go out and, just check out the day. We did something today that we haven't done in maybe about a month. Haha, yeah, right. So we went fishing this morning and we really just enjoyed. Guess who
Yeah.
caught a fish?
We caught the fish.
Guess who did not catch a fish? But anyway, it's one house.
It's two becoming one flesh. So if she catches a fish, I catch a fish. So
He's
it was
just,
great. It was a great time though.
he's hurting y'all because I outdid him again today. But anyway, yeah, he's right. We had a great time. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. So we're hoping that you guys have an opportunity to catch up, go out, do something. You know, we say that all the time, but we know we remember what really influenced, changed, transformed our marriage. It was just not sitting in the couch complaining. It wasn't sitting down, sitting in the midst of what was going on. We actually started just getting out, seeing different things, watching other couples doing different things. So I hope that speak volume to you guys.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Well, she said it all, but I'm just gonna
I did
add
not
to it.
say it
No,
all.
but today we're talking about a topic that is really, really. We're hoping that it opens the eyes of husbands and wives and let you have a different perspective on marriage and the way God created marriage and to let the marriage function well. And when we talk about this topic today, just try to, as a husband, just try to look at your part. As a wife, try to look at your part. And guess what? If both
Absolutely.
look at their own part
Yeah.
and follow along, it's going to work well.
Yeah.
Not that you're not going to have challenges, but it's still
Yeah.
going to work well. And I think that's the key. I think that's what's the root of a great marriage, put it
Yeah.
that way. All
And
right,
then you know
so
what? Just as you said, that was such a great point. Because when you think about it, you stop pointing fingers because now it's not about what he did or what she. Now you're
mm,
responsible for your own actions.
right.
So now you really have to take a deep look in the mirror and say,
Mm,
what's my role in this? How can
yeah,
I make our way out of it
yeah.
and not worry about what he's doing. He's not worried about what I'm doing, but we've really got to try our best to do our part and
And if
take
you
it away
and if you point the finger, look at the other one pointing back. So
right back at you. So
you may point the finger because
yeah,
our natural bent is to
yeah,
blame each other, but
it's easy to do.
so it's called don't give up your role.
Yeah,
And here's the thing: God gives a husband a role in the marriage, and He gives a wife her role in the marriage. It's different for each, and you come together. So you know, a lot of times because Michelle might not be carrying her part. And I see that, and it's not constant, it's sometimes, and it happens to both husband and wife.
mhm,
You may be in a season where you feel you're watching your spouse and your spouse is not doing what you're supposed to do as a husband or a wife. And then what happens is you start to look at it like, well, I'm not getting, what I should get out of this marriage. And
you're gonna
because
start doing for you.
you start doing for you,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
that's the wrong mindset.
yeah,
But it happens. It's a natural thing to happen. But remember, you don't think naturally, you think supernaturally with marriage. God created marriage. And if you focus on what God calls you to as a husband or a wife, and not focus on what the other spouse is called to, because you can't change them, God can change them. All you can do is do your part, and God will bless it.
I agree. So be the husband and the wife that God called you to be.
Yeah,
Be who you are. You're not a man, and you're not a woman. He can't be a woman. I can't be a man.
yeah. I
But
can't be a
there's
wife, and she can't be
right,
a husband.
correct.
Put it that way.
So we've got to just walk out our role. It's not magic, it's work. Walking out your situation, it really does take work.
Yeah.
So you've got to walk out who you are. You've got to walk out who God meant you to be, not what you. It seems like you're becoming because of circumstances or because of issues that's going on in the marriage. Now you've taken on somebody that you don't even recognize who you are anymore
Yeah.
because you've become into like a survival mode. You're just trying to survive this. And that's not what God, the Bible talks about God coming to give life and give it more abundantly. So think about the fact that you're not living in abundance because number one, you're stressed, you've got anxiety issues, you're rushed, you feel all these different emotions. So as keep living out who God want you to be.
And let me add something to that. If you think about it this way, where you know, God calls me to be. Oh, by the way, we're gonna go into the role of a wife and the role of a husband in more depth next
Next week,
next
yeah.
week, right? Next um, video that we do
Yeah.
on marriage in a minute. But today we're just pointing out to you to keep your focus on who God called you to be
Yeah.
as a husband and who God called you to be as a wife. And if you think about it this way, um, you really can't do anything else but that. The minute you start taking on the other person's role and letting it affect you, then it's going to stop. The enemy wants you to not look at yourself. He wants you to look at your spouse and the faults and the negatives and you know and the other way around. The enemy wants your spouse to look at you and your faults and your negatives. God wants you to look at yourself and grow through the marriage. And the only way you could do that is take responsibility for your role and make sure you follow what God is, showing you to do as a husband or a wife. And the other spouse doing the same thing. And that's how it comes together. But the minute you start, it's called role reversal. Like you start, looking at, well, Michelle is not showing me respect, so I don't feel like I want to show her love. Or I'm not showing you love, so you don't want to show me
Show me
respect.
respect. Yeah.
And how do you feel when you feel like I'm not showing you love?
Wow. Now that's a big one. And this has been years ago. And not because of how you feel, that doesn't mean that's true.
Right.
Right? So I might be disappointed about certain things that's probably happened or I'm upset about something he did.
Mhm.
So I'm not ready or I'm not receiving his love. It doesn't mean he's not loving me. It just means I can't feel it right now. It means what he's giving me right now doesn't feel like because I'm still stuck on what happened earlier.
And that's the key thing Michelle just said right now.
Right.
If you think about it, if it's all through the marriage journey, all these years, now that's a problem. But every couple, every marriage
You hit a
go
rough
through
spot,
seasons
yeah.
where it's your weakness then, so to speak. And the enemy knows your weakness. So what he tries to do is break down the marriage, and what he tries to do is get me to not show Michelle love. And honestly, because we're human, sometimes we fall for it, but we get back up and we realize, you know what? No, God says I should still love Michelle, even if Michelle is not showing me respect. God said Michelle should show me respect, even if I'm not showing her love. And that's basically what it is, unconditional. But if both husband and wife operate unconditionally to please the Lord, it's gonna work.
Yeah. And the other day I was actually watching the news and I saw this really incredibly great story. So and we were talking about it and this is what it kind of this is what was born out of the story. So the story goes, I was watching the news and I saw there was a flight, incidentally, it was coming in from Jamaica and on one of the airlines, I won't even say the name, but people were just giving their stories and how uh, frightening and crazy that is. You're giving your story about what just happened. You're on a plane, and the pilot says, "Put on your life vest because now we're coming in for a wet landing," right?
Mm.
So I'm not, I don't like to fly anyway. I don't love it. But I'm thinking that, like I started thinking about it, I'm like, man, would I keep my cool? Would I keep my cool or would I freak out? As time's going, so we've got 5 minutes up because this is marriage in a minute. We have already told you guys we do 15 minutes and it feels like
I mean,
a minute. So it really is
goes by
marriage
so
in a
fast.
minute. So that's why we really kind of came up with the name. But anyway, and I think I'm going to get into it a little bit more, but I'll tell you what happened. So this wife was kind of reliving the story on the news, and I was telling him. So, he didn't see the story, but I'm sure he can go back. But as I was watching it, I was just like, wow. I was so intrigued by what was going on. Of course, it's flying. I don't love to fly, but just think that in that moment you're thinking not ever about all the fights you've had leading up to this moment, right? Even at that moment where you feel like you're going to die, you're thinking about how this person that you might not even, you don't get along with, you want us both to kind of walk, not swim, but walk off this plane. So when people are in their last moment, desperate moments, I can tell you, you're not thinking about the fights, the argument, what makes you so imperfect
Mm.
or what makes me so imperfect. It's nothing about that. So, and I'm going to get into it a little bit deeper. But what happened was the wife, she was talking and she said her husband had already put on his life jacket, right? And she was having issues with hers. And we all know what they tell you, even if it's your child, you put on yours first, make sure you're secured, and then you can help someone else. And in that moment, I guess he saw the panic. She couldn't get it on, it was not working. And not even thinking about it, he just ripped his off, put it on her, and started messing with the one that wouldn't work.
Mm.
And in that moment, I'm just like, man, I've never spoken to this couple. I don't know them, but just their story. And it just made me thinking, man, at that moment, you know what he did? He stayed the course
Yeah.
and he never left who he was. He was her protector, he was her shield at that moment. He took off it. He exposed himself to the element
Mm.
and he gave her his life jacket and wow,
Sacrificing.
sacrifice.
That's the key word, sacrifice. So he sacrificed for his wife, and the Bible tells us that too, that as husbands, and this is the story that Michelle is telling
Yeah,
is perfect for what we're talking about.
yeah.
You
Stay
basically,
your role.
whatever God calls you to do, or to be as a husband, is to protect your wife.
Right.
Loving is
And then, right.
protecting.
Sorry. And then he gave it to her. As the wife, the Bible say we are the weaker one, but we're still a helper, but we are weaker. She didn't say, no, no, you keep it. She took it. She accepted it.
Mhm.
So he
That's right.
offered and he didn't even offer. He just took it off. He gave it to her. She accepted. But now they're both trying to say, it's not that, man, it was such an incredible story. I said, that to me was
She,
staying in your role.
role,
You
yeah.
don't give up who you are in
No
that
matter what.
moment.
Yeah. I love the part you said, accepting it. So you accept
Yeah.
it. You accept my love.
Yeah. And
All
when
right,
you
and
think about
that's really
that couple, do you
that's
think they've never gone through a moment of
yeah.
upset or
Now, what if the husband had thought at that moment, you know what? She doesn't deserve me doing this because of what happened before, and
yeah,
that's not love.
yeah,
Love is it's unconditional, and at that moment, the only thing that he could do or should do is protect his wife,
wow,
and the wife accept that protection.
yeah,
So that's just an example of
yeah,
what we're talking about. Don't give up your role.
yeah.
So next week we're gonna come back on marriage in a minute. We're at the end of
And I think I
today's.
want to get a little bit deeper in the story because there was so much more
Yeah.
that we want to share, but we are really at the end of our program and check out our website.
Yes, www www.marriagevantagepoint.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Marriage in a Minute. And join us next week on Marriage in a Minute as we dissect the role of a husband and a wife.
Yeah. All right, you guys. See you. I hope you.
All right, all right, all right. Omega listeners, we do hope that you enjoyed today's segment of Marriage in a Minute and that you will tune in next week Saturday at the same time of 3:30 p.m. right here on Omega Radio with your hosts Karim and Michelle Hyatt. And we would like to thank them for being proud sponsors towards this radio ministry. And we want them to know that we are blessed to have them be a part of this team here. So listeners, make sure you tune in next week Saturday, 3:30 p.m. for another segment of Marriage in a Minute right here on Omega Radio.
From this moment. Hey, radio listeners, this is Michelle Hyatt.
And this is Karim Hyatt,
host of Marriage in a Minute. Tune in every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. right here on Omega Radio Broadcasting Network for encouraging words on marriage.
And listen, guys, check out our new website, www.marriagevantagepoint.com. And remember, you are the MVP in your marriage.
From this moment.